Hello everyone and welcome to part 2 of the Hurry Up Tomorrow review, where I go over what is easily the worst movie of 2025 by far. If you haven't watched part 1, I highly advise that you watch it before you watch this video in order to better understand everything that I talk about in this video. For those of you who have already watched part 1, let us proceed forward. The next scene of this movie showcases yet another problem that this movie has. Not only is the storyline non-existent, but the pacing is also non-existent as well. This thing goes at a fucking snail's pace. There's a scene where the Weeknd previews an unreleased song to Jenna Ortega's character, and I don't remember what the song was about. I don't think it's important. Nothing that's in this movie is important at all. There is not a single detail in this movie that is important at all. Again, everything that happens in this movie happens just for the sake of happening. Presumably every detail in this movie is there simply just because. There's no deep meaning behind this movie. It's just things happen for the sake of happening. There are certain details that are the way that they are simply for being the way that they are. There's no deep meaning behind them at all, I guarantee you. So anyways, The Weeknd goes on to preview this unreleased song to Jenna Ortega's character, and the song itself is probably not that long. It's only like 3 minutes long and that's it. But when you're watching a movie like this, it feels like a fucking slog to sit through. Like the movie is testing your patience. You would think The Weeknd would play a small snippet of this song and that's it, but no, it goes on and on and on. This movie forces you to watch these two characters listen to the entire song, or at least a large chunk of it. The song itself is fine. I don't even remember how it goes, to be honest. But when you're watching the movie, it really feels like it's testing your patience. Again, let me remind you all, this is not a musical. I know it stars The Weeknd. I know it's based on one of his albums. But guess what? This movie is not a musical. I never thought I would ever say this, but I think this movie would have been better if it was a musical. Again, I had previously compared this to other movies based on albums, notably Pink Floyd's The Wall and The Who's Tommy. You compare this movie to Pink Floyd's The Wall, and you're gonna see there's a reason why The Wall works while this movie doesn't. I've seen people frequently criticize this movie for simply being a glorified music video for the album, and I wish that's what the movie was. I really do wish that's what this movie was. I wish this movie followed what Pink Floyd's The Wall did, and yeah, I know these are two completely different albums from two completely different times. They're both completely different genres. I get it. This is not a lay wrong generation thing or anything like that. I'm just saying it would have been perfect if this movie just followed what Pink Floyd's The Wall movie did. The Wall is a concept album, a rock opera. The Wall tells a story, and the movie is supposed to be a visual companion to the album. It's essentially a musical. There's very little actual dialogue in the movie. Most of the movie is just the songs from the album and that's it. Except now you have visuals to better understand the story of The Wall, to better understand the story that The Wall is trying to tell you. Now, much like Hurry Up Tomorrow, The Wall is a movie that has a lot, and I mean a lot of weird, strange, surreal imagery. But unlike Hurry Up Tomorrow, all of the weird, surreal imagery that's in The Wall actually has meaning behind it. It actually serves a purpose. It actually contributes to the storyline of this movie, to the general storyline of The Wall, both the album and the movie. Unlike Hurry Up Tomorrow, The Wall actually has a storyline. It's not weird for the sake of being weird like Hurry Up Tomorrow is. Imagine if this movie did something similar to that. It would have been so much better. I wish this thing was a musical. I wish this movie had more of the songs from Hurry Up Tomorrow on it. I wish it further explored the concept and themes and whatnot that Hurry Up Tomorrow has. I wish it actually felt like a movie, you know? Instead, what we end up getting is a hodgepodge of random ideas that are just stuck together. So anyways, The Weeknd is previewing this unreleased song to Jenna Ortega's character, and it goes on for ever. And then we cut to the next morning where the two of them are having breakfast, and as The Weeknd goes to fix himself up a drink, Jenna Ortega's character gets a phone call from her mom. After answering the phone call, her mom starts lamenting her and criticizing her for burning down this house. She's like, "How could you do this? Why would you do such a thing?" And Jenna Ortega's character starts crying. And you'd think this is where we would find out why she burned down the house in the first place. But once again, no. I've established this before, but I cannot get over this. This movie has this character burn down this house at the beginning of the movie for seemingly no reason at all. It is never explained once in the movie, and even in the scene where you have her mom criticizing her for burning down the house, it doesn't give you any further idea, any further explanation as to why she burned down the house. This is also the only scene in the movie where her mom is even a character at all. You don't see her once physically. And so once again, I have to ask, what the is the point of putting this into the movie? You could cut this phone call scene out of the movie, and quite literally, nothing would change. Nothing would get affected at all. By extension, you could cut out this whole thing of her burning down this house, and I guarantee you nothing about the movie would change. Nothing about the movie would be affected whatsoever. I know there's probably going to be some extremely pretentious cinephile, maybe some extremely die-hard parasocial fan of The Weeknd that's going to defend this and be like, no, you don't understand. Her burning down the house and the movie not giving an explanation as to why she burned down the house is super deep and creative. It's so clever and subversive and deep, you know? It's symbolic of blah blah blah, and it's like, no, it's just bad writing. That's all that it is, and that's all that it will ever be. There's no deep symbolic message regarding why she burned down the house and why the movie doesn't explain why she burned down the house. It's just bad writing. Simple as that. After all of this, The Weeknd prepares to head out of the hotel, intending to visit the doctor for an update on his throat issue, and then resume the tour where he will fly from California to Australia. Jenna Ortega's character says that she's coming with him to Australia, and The Weeknd's like, no, you can't come. And then Jenna Ortega's character is like, no, but you clearly need me. You're not doing well mentally. We had a great time together the night before. It's obvious that you need me. And then the two of them get into an argument, and then it all culminates with this now infamous scene that most likely you've seen floating around online, where you get an idea of just how amazing of an actor The Weeknd is. This argument is meant to be a tense scene, and you have The Weeknd just mildly yelling to Jenna Ortega, shut the up, shut the up, leave me the alone, you know, stuff like that. And he sounds only like mildly annoyed, and that's it. It's one of the only funny bad things about this movie. I remember there were people that were laughing at this scene because of how bad The Weeknd's acting was. He's going on this tangent in a very mildly annoyed voice, despite the fact that this is supposed to be a tense argument scene. He's going on swearing like a sailor, swearing left and right, like Vivzy Pop decided to write this movie all of a sudden. And then we get the funniest thing in this goddamn movie easily. The Weeknd finishes his tangent, he leaves out the front door, and then Jenna Ortega's character hits him with like a bottle or something. She hits him in the head, and then we cut to like The Weeknd slowly falling down in this like black void or whatever, and it looks so f***ing stupid. It looks so goofy that I couldn't help it. I just started laughing out loud. I tried to conceal my laughter, or at least laugh quietly, in the event that there was someone at my screening that genuinely cared about this movie. There was someone at my screening that was genuinely interested in this movie, and they didn't just watch it just to take the piss out of it like I did. But I couldn't help it. During this scene, I was just dying of laughter, just because of how stupid it looked. Sadly, this is where the funny bad stuff comes to a halt. So then we cut to the Weeknd in bed. He looks all around the hotel for Jenna Ortega's character, but he can't find her anywhere. As a matter of fact, he can't find anyone around him. He looks through his contacts and text messages and whatnot. They're completely empty. He goes all around the hotel, he goes outside into the streets, and it's completely empty. There's no one around him. And then the Weeknd goes back into the hotel. He goes into the elevator. He tries to push up, and then the elevator just takes him down. And he keeps pushing the up button again and again and again, and instead he just keeps going lower and lower and lower until he ends up in this like underground cave or whatever, catacombs underneath the hotel, and it's completely pitch black down here. The only source of light that he has is from his phone flashlight, and that's it. And so he goes further and further into these catacombs. He's like, hello, who the is there? Is there anyone there? And then he comes across this girl who's just crouched down. Who is this girl? Is this Jenna Ortega's character? Is this his ex that is so important to this movie, yet you never see her once at all physically? I don't know. It's just this girl that's crouched down in front of the Weeknd, and then all of a sudden this movie decides, nah, I want to be a horror movie now. I'm sure most of you are familiar with that cliche thing that horror movies do, the jump scares, you know, where there's a scene that's extremely quiet, and then it's just like, boom, loud jump scare noise, just like that. Well, the movie decides to do something like that. You have this girl jump up to the Weeknd, and all of a sudden you have this loud noise. Prior to that, it's just complete silence the moment the Weeknd finds this girl. Except this movie decides to be a little extra special by having the loud noise in question go on for quite a while. So we have this girl attacking the Weeknd, I guess, I don't know. And there's just this loud noise playing in the background, and it's like, it's just a headache is what it is. When you're watching this movie in a theater, it's like the last thing you want is to hear this like extremely loud, extremely annoying noise, but the movie just gives it to you just like that. And then we cut to the Weeknd outside in the middle of nowhere around this like desert area, I believe, standing in front of a fireplace, and next to him is this kid. I don't know if this is like a kid version of the Weeknd or if this is just any other kid. I don't know what this is supposed to symbolize, if it's supposed to symbolize anything at all. There's just the Weeknd standing in front of this fireplace with this kid is sitting next to him. And then we cut to the Weeknd in bed again. Again, none of the stuff that happened prior is ever explained. I'm guessing everything that happened is like a dream sequence. Hell if I know. Him being completely alone, him finding the girl in the catacombs, him standing next to the fireplace. It's like, again, it's just things happen in this movie for the sake of happening. There's no rhyme or reason as to why they happen. The most logical theory is that this was a dream sequence, but even then, it's still just really weird and out of place, and it doesn't really serve much purpose to the movie if it's a dream sequence. And I swear to God, if I see anyone use the fact that this whole scene was potentially a dream sequence as an excuse for why the movie doesn't explain any of this stuff happening. If I see anyone use the "it's a dream sequence" bullcrap to defend the fact that this movie decides I'm gonna be weird for the sake of being weird, I swear to God, we're gonna have a problem, okay? We're gonna have a problem. Yes, I know that dreams do have a tendency to be really strange, really weird, and really surreal, but that doesn't excuse that for a movie like this. That's not an excuse. Everything that happens in this dream sequence is never explained. It's never acknowledged again for the remainder of this movie. Once again, you could cut all of this out of the movie and nothing of importance would be lost. Once again, I have to ask, why the is any of this in the movie? What is the point? So anyways, the Weeknd wakes up tied up to the hotel bed. Jenna Ortega's character walks into the room and promises to untie him if he tells her the truth. And then we get the only other funny bad moment in the entire movie. Jenna Ortega starts going through several of the Weeknd's songs in order to try and analyze them. Like she puts on Blinding Lights, for example, and she goes on and on about how, oh, most people don't know what this song is about. This song is actually about how you blah 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 and whatnot. And it's like, girl, you're not Patrick Bateman, okay? Stop trying to be like Patrick Bateman. You will never be Patrick Bateman. As I mentioned before, this is the only other funny bad moment in the movie just because of the American Psycho similarities, but sadly, it's funny bad to an extent. Much like the earlier scene where the Weeknd plays that unreleased song to Jenna Ortega's character, this scene goes on for way too long. In addition to Blinding Lights, Jenna Ortega's character does the exact same thing with 2 or 3 other songs. And it's like, okay, we get it. We get the point that the movie is trying to make after Blinding Lights. We don't need to hear more of his music. I mean, his music is great, don't get me wrong, but this just comes off as filler. This just comes off as trying to pad out the runtime for this movie. Trying to add content into a movie that doesn't even have an actual storyline. And then after Jenna Ortega tries and fails to be like Patrick Bateman, someone knocks on the door, and it's none other than Barry Keoghan's character, the Weeknd's manager. Remember him? Yeah, he's supposed to be a character in this movie. Jenna Ortega's character tries to hide the Weeknd in order to prevent Barry's character from knowing that he's there. She goes up to the door and tells Barry that no, the Weeknd isn't here. Barry doesn't believe her, and so he breaks in, and then there's like a fight that ensues, and it culminates with Jenna's character stabbing Barry's character. And that's it. Barry's dead, just like that. And so we reach the climax of the movie. She goes into the Weeknd's room, holding up the gas canister, and she starts pouring gasoline all over the Weeknd. And just as she's about to light the Weeknd up on fire, the Weeknd starts singing this song. And for the 3rd time, the problem comes up again, where this scene goes on for way too fucking long. This is supposed to be the big climactic moment of the movie. You're supposed to be on the edge of your seat for this moment, and instead, you're just exhausted out of your fucking mind just waiting for the movie to end. The Weeknd starts belting out this song, and it's like the longest song in the entire world. It's like, damn, I thought the Weeknd was a pop musician. I had no idea he made progressive rock. That's how long this song feels. I remember during this scene, I audibly whispered to myself, this is the worst movie I've ever seen, and there was this guy sitting next to me that started laughing at me because of that. But I genuinely did think, yeah, this is the worst movie I've ever seen. Not only is this easily the worst movie of 2025, but this is also the worst movie I've ever seen, period. This is a anti-movie. That's what this is. This is like anti-cinema. After hearing this song, Jenna Ortega decides not to light the Weeknd up on fire. We see the hotel room get lit up on fire without the Weeknd, and he walks out of the hotel into the lobby, and the movie ends. I'm not joking. That's how the movie ends. The movie ends giving you far more questions than answers. Notably, there's the fact that Jenna Ortega's character is completely missing during these final few scenes. We see the Weeknd walking out of this hotel room that's on fire, and that's it. It's just The Weeknd. There's no Jenna Ortega to be found anywhere. I don't know why she just disappears from this scene. Like, they just abruptly take her out of the movie. There's no conclusive arc to this character. As a matter of fact, with the exception of Barry Keoghan's character, there's no conclusive arc to any of the characters in this movie. The Weeknd walks away from the burning hotel room, and that's it. The movie ends. And it's never explained what happened to Jenna Ortega's character and why she isn't seen walking away from the burning hotel room with The Weeknd. I don't know if this movie is trying to pull a Fight Club where, spoiler alert for Fight Club, I don't care if this movie is over 25 years old, no movie should be spoiled. This is especially not a movie that you want to have spoiled. I don't know if Hurry Up Tomorrow is trying to be like Fight Club, where it turns out, no, Jenna Ortega's character doesn't actually exist. It was all in The Weeknd's head. In the same way Fight Club has the whole thing of like, Tyler Durden doesn't exist. It's all in Edward Norton's character's head. That's the only remotely logical explanation as to why Jenna Ortega's character just completely disappears in these last few moments of the movie. But given the quality of this movie, I'd say it's more likely that this is just really awful writing rather than the movie trying to rip off Fight Club. Oh yeah, speaking of bad writing, I completely forgot until now that there was a subplot where The Weeknd has like an issue with his throat and it could potentially affect his tour. After the argument scene between The Weeknd and Jenna Ortega, where Jenna's like, no, don't go out, you need me. After that scene, this whole subplot of him having like problems with his throat, it's never brought up again. Now, I feel like with this, it's a little bit different because apparently in 2022, during a concert, The Weeknd actually lost his voice. And I believe this is what heavily inspired Hurry Up Tomorrow. So at least this kind of has a reason to be in the movie. This whole subplot of him losing his voice, him having issues with his throat, at least this kind of has a reason to be in the movie. But still, it's brought up a few times in the movie and then it's never acknowledged again. There's no resolution to it at all. There's no conclusive arc to it at all. It's just a thing that's in the movie, and then the movie decides to do nothing with it after a certain point. It never acknowledges it again after a certain point. And that, my friends, is where Hurry Up Tomorrow comes to an end. Congratulations. You've just finished watching the worst movie of 2025.